As I was filling up the basin, I noticed a potentially huge problem. It's a little challenging to see, but here, and here, there was not enough thin set to hold down the Kerdi membrane along the corner here. So, with no choice but to rip it all out, I ripped out the corner and then added in a new, thicker patch to cover up the old areas. In order for Kerdi to be waterproof, it has to have a 2-inch overlap on each side. So I had to put an extra 2 inches overlap in this repair spot. After a rough week of being sick and some failure at the joint on the back side here in the shower, we are going to be doing flood test number 2 here. I technically didn't even go through with the first one just because I noticed right off the bat that something seemed off, but this is technically the second time we're going to be putting water in here, so hopefully we don't have any issues this time, but let's get this bad boy filled up. As I was waiting for the second flood test to complete, I decided this would be a good time to install the Ditra uncoupling membrane. The primary purpose of an uncoupling membrane is to isolate the tile layer from the substrate or the subfloor layer, which allows for independent movement and reduces the risks of cracks in the tile. So, considering this is an old house with uneven floors and a constantly shifting frame, I knew that we needed an uncoupling membrane in order to keep the tile safe. Since we were already using the Kerdi waterproof membrane and the Kerdi all set thin set inside the shower to adhere it just made sense to continue in the Kerdi family and purchase the uncoupling membrane that they sell. Pretty easy to install. You just use a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch trowel, put out your mortar lines, and then set the uncoupling membrane in the mortar line, pushing out any air pockets that you may find along the way. Once it cures in 24 hours, you can tile directly on top of it. Oh, it worked. The line is exactly where I drew it yesterday, so I think this is a successful flood test. It's been over 24 hours. The water is right at the line still. I guess, I don't know. What, time to drain it now? Let's drain it. Ooh, it's cold. Woo-hoo. Finally! Alright, after many weeks and days of planning and tearing down and waiting, we are finally at the stage where it's tile time. So, let's tease some tile. So one of the main considerations that we're going to have to think about when we're laying this tile is up here we have a bit of a lip that comes in from this pre-manufactured Kerdi niche. So because it wouldn't sit completely flush against my plaster and lath walls on the backside, we do have a little bit of an outcropping here. So that's something that's going to need to be accounted for gradually over time, so that slowly as we bring the tile up to this point, we are also bringing it off the wall so that the tiles down here are not noticeably more inset than the ones that are up here, because we do have about 1/8 of an inch lip that we have to overcome once we get to this level. Another thing we're going to have to consider with these tiles is that this 125-year-old house is not level, nor is it plumb. And so the first line that we set, our ledger board or our ledger line with our bottom row of tile in the shower, is going to be critical, because everything is going to be built off of this row. So if we don't get this initial row straight, it's going to just cause problems for the rest of the tile laying. So that's where this laser level is going to come in handy for sure. So as we tile and go up the wall, we'll have this set at the bottom of the row that we're currently working on, and then we'll be able to have this middle row tell us, you know, we can move it around and we can measure different points on the wall to make sure that we're staying intact. So we'll have to consider at certain lines in the wall, we'll want the center line to be right in between two tiles, and then in a different row, we may want that center line to be cutting a tile right down the middle. That way we don't have, as we subway, you know, as we build our subway tiles up, we don't want them to be the same each row going up. We want them offset. So like this. We would want something like this, and we don't want something like that. It's just a different style. We're looking for the offset. You can definitely do it like this. We just want it like this. Another thing I want to tease while we're on the topic of tile is the shower floor tiles. So we've gone with a very warm, neutral toned penny tile. Reason being is not to contrast too heavily with the walls. We just want this to sort of blend in at the bottom of our feet. And penny tiles were also a critical choice because when you do have an uneven floor due to the age of the home, these individual tiles are far more forgiving of uneven surfaces than a flat standard floor like a 12 by 12 or a 12 by 24 tile would be. Those are far less forgiving when laying. So this, if there's uneven spots in my shower pan due to a rudimentary DIY installation, these will be far more easy to accommodate, and then we can make sure that these have the correct slope, that they're headed towards the drain in the shower pan, and we don't have to worry about them cracking as well because there's not uneven pressure points that are going to apply to these small tiles. This should be pretty easy to install. These, on the other hand, I'm not looking forward to. Lots of straight lines and small subway tile. This is going to take a while to do. This wall, the opposing wall, and the back wall. Yay tile. And just like that, I'm out of time again. Thanks y'all for watching, and be sure to tune in next week for the start of the tiling. Should be exciting.